everyone. We are back again with the uh, I'm sure you guys might have uh, check it out. What uh, 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 I hope that all the uh, so coming back, yes, in all the all all about technology, all about animation, all but this is a little different from what so it's I personally when I was an artist or when I am an artist, but then for all of us who are artists, for them, it's always been like we are sitting in front of a computer and just looking at the screen for hours. So we tend to lose our efficiency about speaking to people, may it be inside a interview or maybe speaking online or maybe any online portals. So today's webinar is specifically targeting this part. You are a good artist, but then let's say if you want to express yourself or you want to express your art to someone, how is that you can do it? What are those key points which we will be able to we need to know about it? So as I won't be getting into the detail of the webinar, for that we have Keur with us. You probably must be knowing Keur. We have been taking. He also has taken a webinar on photography. So he's the guy who's going to take this whole webinar ahead along with Simona. So Keur, I would like to have Keur here. Hi Keur.
Hi Vishal, thank you. Thank you for inviting me here
How's
once
everything?
again. And welcome all our viewers. So today's session, as a fellow artist, uh, we are often like good in expressing our ideas on canvas. But the moment we get in front of the camera, we are like, uh, okay, let's do it again. We often get nervous. So let's learn how to break this invisible wall of nervousness from our media professional and our speaker of the day, Simona Terron.
Hi everyone. Hi Kayur. Thank you for that lovely introduction.
Thank you very much. Welcome on the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So Simona, before we start this webinar,
Mhm.
what is this webinar all about? Who is this webinar for?
Well, this webinar is actually for everybody because thanks to the wonderful coronavirus, everyone's doing pretty much all their communicating via webcams and from phone screens. So it's all digital now, it's all online. And everybody, whether you work in a profession, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a teacher or a student, or you just want to keep in touch with your people, everybody has to speak online and not everyone's comfortable doing it. So this webinar would be helpful for people who are appearing for job interviews, which obviously is happening online. People who are conducting conference calls or webinars like this one, people who need to talk to clients, people who need to talk to existing clients or potential clients, people who are marketing their products and services, people who work in jobs and need to talk to their bosses or need to talk to their team members, their colleagues, students, teachers, pretty much everyone. And especially people who are producing content. So whether it's audio content or video content, so that would be bloggers, vloggers, people who are podcasters, people who do dubbing and voiceovers as well.
Absolutely. So what I understand about this is uh, someone who is facing camera more often can attend this lecture. So what are we going to learn if we stick around?
Well, like you mentioned so beautifully, The first thing they're going to learn is how to deal with shyness and nervousness, because I think that is really, as you described it, the biggest, most invisible wall and barrier that everybody deals with. Secondly, you're going to learn to present anything. And with a little bit of preparation, you'll be able to do it with confidence, you'll be able to do it with intelligence and humor. So I'm going to be teaching some very basic skills about how to be clear, how to be engaging and relate to your audience. And of course, you want to be memorable. So I am going to talk about ways in which you can be able to speak to anyone, anywhere, and to do it spontaneously. So if you want to learn how to communicate your ideas clearly and effectively, and also engage the audience, and of course, not be boring, this is the webinar for you.
So, Simona, could you please tell us all something more about yourself?
Well, I am a media professional. I've been a journalist for over 20 years. So that means I have perfected the art of talking to just about anyone and also getting them to talk to me, and usually with very little preparation. I've also been podcasting since 2017, so that means I've been talking to multiple people while also recording them and myself. So, podcasting, I have two podcasts which are currently online, and I'm launching two more this year, one at the end of this month and one shortly after. And finally, I've also been organizing various events, various workshops. So, which means I'm usually in a room with people where sometimes I'm even getting paid for them to listen to me. And I forgot to mention that I'm also a voiceover artist, and I've been one for the last 12 years professionally. I won a televised national contest on the Z Cafe channel for voiceover artists back in 2009. So these are the reasons why I feel like I am qualified to teach this webinar, and why I hope that you will have a lot to learn from me.
And that is amazing. So, I want to listen to you more. We all want to listen to you more. So, what is the best way to connect to you?
Well, of course, I'm on social media, so I'm going to be sharing my social media handles on the screen. You can get in touch with me on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. And if you really, really would be interested in connecting, the best way would be email. And my email is up on the screen. It's simonaterron@gmail.com.
So, let's get started. Uh,
Fantastic. So yes, so I'm going to start off with, again, coming back to that very point I mentioned and which KO described so beautifully, the giant invisible wall of shyness and nervousness. Abhi hum sab sharmate hain, obviously, right? It's not like we're all so cool that we can just walk up to anybody and like, yo, dude, and start talking to people. We wish that we could do that. We wish that we could be so absolutely secure and so spontaneous that we can just approach any topic, speak about it fluently, and just sound like, geniuses, like really cool geniuses. But the shyness and the nervousness blocks us. In fact, so many times it happens that you may even be an expert in your field. You may know everything there is to know under the sun about that topic. You may be one full Baba Gyani. But the moment you have to speak to somebody, what happens is that you forget everything. You start fumbling, you start making mistakes, you start, getting nervous. And this is only because of this invisible barrier. How do you change it? You take on a persona. You become somebody else. So the ideal thing to do is think of somebody who's really confident and has a lot of swag and बहुत ही cool है. मतलब, they're not scared of anything. And you channel that energy and keep that person in mind when you are talking to other people. So I'm not suggesting this idea as though I thought of it. There's somebody very famous that you might recognize who also does this. And you're going to see her on the next screen, on the next slide. That's right, Beyonce. The same person who performs to sold out concerts, who has done gazillion interviews with the press, who has appeared on so many stages and has so many fans across the world. Even she gets nervous before a performance. But what does she do? She channels a persona that she created, a character called Sasha Fierce. So I don't know who your Sasha Fierce is, but it helps to channel that persona, and that will help you overcome your shyness and nervousness when you're talking to just about anybody.
So, Simona, so what by this I understand, are we still talking about public speaking?
Absolutely, because public speaking, anything where you're not talking to just your buddies or your yar or just your mom or your sister on the phone, anything else and everything else is public speaking. Except now we're doing it online or digitally, but the same rules still apply because you're still talking publicly. So I believe that there are three pillars of public speaking that apply to speaking online as well. And these three pillars, very simple, is humor, humility, and confidence. So I'll just briefly expand on these three. Humor, well, because humor is the best icebreaker. I mean, Hasi Mazak mein, we are able to listen more, we're more receptive, we relate to the person who is talking to us a lot more. We want to hear what they have to say. And it's not easy to do humor. So I feel like if you can manage to get everybody in the room to relax or get the person who you're talking to laugh, that's when they're paying the most attention to what you have to say. So with a little bit of practice, what I recommend is think of a joke, think of something funny in the context. Don't make it too complicated. ज़्यादा घूम घूम के मत बोलो. Keep it simple. And when you come to your punchline, save the funniest word or the funniest thought for right at the end. You don't want to be in the middle of cracking your joke and have people already laughing because then they won't be able to hear you. So save the funniest bit for the end. And once you crack the joke, I want you to say what is most important that you want to convey to that person or to that audience right after the joke, after they have finished laughing. The studies have shown that that is when they are most receptive. So humor is very important, but humility is also very important. If you come across as this arrogant person who's like this Gyani Baba who knows everything, people don't want to listen to you. I mean, come on, we all need Gyani Babas everywhere. We don't want to hear what they have to say, even though they think they know everything. So if you come across with a little bit of genuine humility, because genuine means, I don't know, just be like, let your asli self come out. Don't be too soft, but don't be too like tough either. Just genuine humility where you come across as your real self is very attractive to your audience and is very attractive to the person who's listening to you. So I feel humility does not have to mean debasing yourself, because the next point is confidence. So if you have confidence, अगर आप एकदम मतलब दिल खोल के you talk about whatever it is you have to convey, you don't feel like you are how do you say, begging your audience to pay attention to you. You know that what you have to say has worth, has value, and what they are listening to is important to them. So they want you to say what you have to say, and I think that's all the confidence you need. So a combination of humor, humility, and confidence is all you need to basically be a kick-ass speaker at when it comes to public speaking.
So, जहाँ तक मुझे समझ में आया, अगर मुझे हाथ से कभी सम्मेलन में जाना है या मुझे एक रिपोर्टर बनना है, so when it comes to the concept of speaking publicly, there are few things that we need to consider, which is humor, humility, and confidence. But
Absolutely.
एक difference या एक problem हम हमेशा फंस जाते हैं is where to take a pause or where should we add our fillers. So, what more
So
can we?
excellent question, because I feel like fillers are those weird noises that we make when our mouth is working लेकिन हमारा दिमाग भी चल रहा है, तो दोनों साथ में जो चल रहे हैं ना, वो फिर मल्टीटास्किंग ठीक से नहीं होता है. So what happens is when somebody asks me something, like if I'll ask you, so Kayur, what did you eat for breakfast today? Now obviously you'll have to think,
Yeah.
and then you be like, so yeah, yeah. So those are filler noises, and they can be very off-putting in a situation where you are trying to communicate to someone. So in a lot of places where people are not prepared and you suddenly ask them something, so normally, but this is weird, right? So they feel the need to make some sound. So instead of sitting quietly like that and thinking कि आज मैंने breakfast के लिए क्या खाया, He'll be going like, Alu, I think, yaar, kya tha wo? So these are all filler noises, and they, if you consciously avoid them, they can be less distracting for your listener. Now, on the other hand, there are places where dramatic pauses actually make a big, in fact, बहुत बड़ा impact. So you see what I did there? When you have now here, this was thoda over dramatized, but sometimes if you want to make a point, what you need to do is not speed up, because when you speed up, your mouth and your mind are going to be working at different speeds, and you're going to end up multitasking, and that's going to fail and crash and burn. मतलब एकदम, you know, it's going to become a circus. एकदम नौटंकी हो जाएगा. So don't do that. Instead, slow it down. If you want to emphasize your point, know when to make the pause just before making your most important point. Because sometimes when you just slow down the pace, and we're going to be talking about this later as well, in terms of how the voice is controlled, that pace is very important. And coming to the next thing, which is basically now words, since we're talking about words, what about language? What about accent? I'm sure you have questions about that, right? Like, not everyone is as fluent in English. So suppose मुझे हिंदी में बात करनी है, या मुझे हिंदी और इंग्लिश में combine करके बात करनी है. So why not? Do it at your comfort and convenience, because as long as you're speaking to an audience that understands the language you're talking about, that you're talking with, it's fine. If in the middle you stutter or you stumble because you're trying to get that exact word, use what comes closest to it. No one is sitting with a mark sheet to judge your grammar or your, you know, what is your lexical knowledge and what is your semantical knowledge. No, communication means as long as the person sitting in front of you or on the other side of the screen understands what you have to say, bas na bahut ho gaya. So don't be nervous about language. Yes, preparation helps. It's if you feel that there are certain words you have trouble using, find a simpler word to use it. You don't have to show off and use big words and then make a fool of yourself by stumbling over them. Keep it simple. People in front of you will appreciate it. They will focus on the content of what you're saying rather than how you're saying it. अब रही accent की बात. Now, there are people who talk in a very posh accent. पता नहीं कहाँ से आता है. वो लोग airport जाके वापस accent के साथ आ जाते हैं. So that's really weird because, you know, sometimes you're listening to what they're saying और आपका ध्यान accent में ही है. So you don't understand. You're not paying attention to what they're saying. You're paying attention to how they're saying it. And there are other people who are very conscious. Like I have a lot of South Indian friends. I'm half South Indian. And I have South Indian friends who are very nervous. Ki, matlab, you know, when I talk English, I'm talking a little bit like this. And they've been made fun of. And that's not cool. Talk in the accent that you find completely normal. And again, as long as the person who's listening to you understands what you're saying, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to put on any foreign accent. You don't have to speak in some clipped British weird thing. Don't put on anything. Just be who you are. If you can speak more clearly, and that comes with practice, get feedback. The people who you're talking to, if they stop you more than a couple of times, say, "Bhai, kuch samajh mein nahi aaya. What was that again?" Then you know that, okay, you need to be a little slower. You need to be a little more crisp with your diction. It's not rocket science. So don't let things like language and accent be blocks. Just free yourself and be yourself.
But then I actually have a question. At times when we actually end up going to the airport and it's the entire environment that influence you to have an accent, what do we do at such time?
Okay, so there can be lots of fun situations where what happens is, and again, studies and research has shown that when you start speaking like the person who you're talking to, and they also say this about mirroring, you know, they call this stupid technique mirroring. Okay? Matlab, if they do this, then you should also do this. And then if they do this, you also should do this. That's really silly. But at the same time, psychologically, apparently it works. Now, I'm not saying be a monkey and imitate जो सामने बंदा कर रहा है, आप बंदर मत बन जाओ. But if they're talking a certain accent and they're speaking, most of us unconsciously start matching that accent thoda thoda. Now, this comes from a desire, a very basic human desire to be understood. So you feel that if you're talking in your normal Indian accent or सामने जो बैठा है बंदा Britisher है, थोड़ा थोड़ा करके your accent is slowly going to become a little more clipped, a little more crisp, very automatically. Sometimes it doesn't happen at all, and I kind of envy those people because they stay true to who they are and how they sound. But अगर naturally हो जाता है तो हो नहीं ना. It's fine as long as the person in front of you can understand you. All is fair in love, in war, and in public speaking.
So especially while speaking in public or in speaking with someone in person, हमारा voice quality भी कम ज़्यादा हो जाता है. Sometimes we are so soft spoken. I have come across people who are very loud, and sometimes it irritates. Uh, Voice quality कैसी होनी चाहिए whenever we are talking to someone or on camera?
That's an excellent, excellent question. You're full of excellent questions today. Kya yaar, KO, really? Okay, so basically, voice quality is important because that is the only thing that you are using. Unless, of course, you have pie charts and diagrams also. The point is the person is hanging on every word you're saying because that's the only medium you're using to communicate. So, अगर उसमें ही problem है, तो फिर everything comes crashing down. So, for voice quality, there are 4 things to remember. Very basic, very simple, but 4 important things. The first one is a combination of 2 aspects, which is clarity and volume. Now, whether you're a voiceover artist doing this in a studio, in a professional sound booth, whether you're a podcaster talking to a mic, interviewing somebody, or whether you're somebody on a conference call with a whole bunch of colleagues and your boss, you have to be clear. अगर वो लोग समझ नहीं पाएंगे तो what is the whole communication is lost ना, then you're not communicating. So clarity. अभी clarity कहाँ है? Clarity is in how you speak, how you pronounce your words, how you deliver, you project your voice. So make sure that you speak clearly. I'm not saying like this, and you understand what I'm saying, right? Like you don't understand anything I just said, right? Because I was just slurring and speeding up my and talking inside my mouth. So if you start doing that, you've lost the person in front of you. Just be clear. If you're worried about your accent, if you can't breathe properly and you're getting very excited or nervous, or you're just a little anxious, slow it down. Breathe. Take a sip of water. Take a minute. Compose yourself, and then speak. You will be a lot clearer, and that's very important. Secondly, is volume, like you correctly said. Some people are really loud. They're so loud that when you are talking to them, even if they're on a screen or whether they're in front of you, the first reaction is to go back. So, जब लोग ऐसे जोर जोर से बात करते हैं ना, और भी कम सुनाई देता है. It's ironic because it's just the opposite, right? I mean, when somebody talks loudly, you would think he's doing it to be heard. But actually, what he's doing is you're blocking him. You're like, okay, too much. So don't be so loud that the person in front of you stops listening. Don't be so soft that they have to strain. After a point, they're going to give up. So somewhere in between, you will come to know whether they can hear you clearly or not if you listen to feedback. So public speaking का बहुत important part है ये भी कि you look for feedback, whether it's visual, whether the person says, "Oh, I'm sorry, could you say that again?" And if he says it more than 3-4 times, it means you're not audible. If you see the person saying, "Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't get that because it's jarring or it's distorting," it means you're too loud. So clarity, volume, most important. Next, we come to pace, and I mentioned this earlier. So let's be very fast and you can't understand what I'm saying, and I'm just talking like, words after words, and I'm just stumbling out of my mouth and you can't get anything. I'm saying, what's the point of that, right? So
Easy on that.
exactly. So pace is very important. At the same time, if I talk like this and basically put everybody to sleep, then this webinar will go on for like maybe, I don't know, 7 hours, maybe even longer, maybe 7 days. And there'll be nobody on this webinar except me talking to a screen. So either extreme is avoidable. Pace is something you need to measure yourself. So when it's a serious topic, you will obviously slow down your pace a little bit. When it's something more lighthearted, fun, hasi mazak, you can be a little more casual, you can be a little more up tempo. So gauge what the situation demands and just play it by ear. The important thing is to trust yourself and pay attention to feedback. Next point is your vocal tone and inflection. And just like pace, just like volume, and just like clarity, it's very important that the other person can understand what you're saying and also to hold their attention. If I say everything in the same tone and talk like this for 1 hour, I don't think you will be listening to anything beyond the first 5 seconds. So the inflections need to change. If I'm changing my volume, if I'm modulating my voice, if I'm creating certain pauses, or if I'm speeding things up because I want to make a point with emphasis, all of this comes into your inflection and your tone. Now, if I'm sounding really angry, obviously my volume and my tone is going to change. And if I want to sound really sexy, then suddenly my tone changes even there. So it's all about managing your modulation. As long as you know what you're doing, and this comes only with practice, the person in front of you will go along for the ride and will feel all the emotions that you want them to feel when you're saying what you're saying. Finally,
Simona, I have a question here. We have been speaking ever since a year or two. हम लोग
yes.
बोलते जा रहे हैं, बोलते जा रहे हैं, बोलते जा रहे हैं. But then why is it still a hedge, especially when we come in front of someone, or when we come in front of the camera?
Uh-huh.
एक थोड़ा अभी भी एक सेंस ऑफ क्लैरिटी हमें अभी भी ज़रूरत है वो डेवलप करने का, और
Yes.
somewhere do we still get stuck in between a formal conversation and an informal conversation? What are the things that we need to consider, or what can we keep in mind, like, so that we don't have uh, yeah, you got it right.
So basically, all of these points that I said, and especially the last one that I was about to make, which is pronunciation, I feel that it comes with practice. And it's like any kind of muscle that the more you use it, the stronger it gets, the more flexible it becomes, it builds on itself. So if you think that after attending this webinar, you'll be able to just walk onto a stage anywhere and just speak extempore, I would love that. And I would love for you to write me a testimonial that tells people that I helped you do that. But practically speaking, you need to practice. You need to be able to take small, simple occasions where you can do this in safe ways without getting too anxious. Or बस इसमें क्या बड़ी बात है? Just keep doing it, and like any muscle, it'll get more and more comfortable to the point where you'll be able to do this on bigger and bigger platforms in more and more serious situations, and not just casual but even professional situations. It's as simple as that. And that last point I was making about pronunciation, similar to the language and accent part that I was speaking of. If you feel okay, you are not sure about how a word is pronounced, ask, look it up. Google भाई से पूछो, Google बहन से पूछो, ask, go to a dictionary, look at the phonetic pronunciation, and listen to how other people are also pronouncing it. Like I attended this recent webinar on podcasting, and it was a good webinar. The person was very well known, and the points were interesting. But oh my God, throughout the webinar, he just kept saying voila, voila, and I'm thinking, okay, first of all, there is no need to say that word. Second of all, it's a French word. It's pronounced voila. If you're going to use a word from another language, say it the way it's supposed to be said in that language. Instead of saying voila, voila, which by the way, mujhe voila, voila se yaad aaya, it's almost like he was saying haila. And it was so disruptive that it distracted me from what he was sharing about podcasting. And that's all I remember from the damn webinar, which is, that voila, voila. So I'm not saying that the same thing will happen to you, but prepare in advance. And if you are going to use words where you're not sure about the pronunciation, do a little homework.
वाला सिमोना, व्हाट आई अंडरस्टैंड आउट ऑफ दिस इज कुछ चीज़ों को ओरिजिनल रहने दे, वही अच्छा है. भेल ना बनाए तो काफ़ी बेटर होगा.
बिल्कुल.
अगर जो चीज़ समझ में नहीं आ रही है तो देयर इज नो हार्म, डिक्शनरी यूज़ कर लो, या गूगल पेन या गूगल भाई से पूछ लो. ये तो बात हो गई when we are talking to someone in person, or when we are having a communication. What about
Yes,
the time when we are actually recording something? So your voice quality is now a sound quality. How
absolutely.
can we can you show some light on that topic, please?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the easy road and I'm going to step back and let somebody who is an absolutely cool expert tell you in his own words. I've asked him, of course, some leading questions, but there's a video coming up where he's going to explain to you how important sound is, and also how you can make sure that you get the best audio quality or the best sound quality in your content, when you're recording, when you're doing videos, when you're doing audios, whatever it is, or when you're basically creating professional content, how to be careful. So this is Sunny Singh, and he is the owner of a professional sound studio called Gawe, and this is in Andheri in Bombay. And he's been in the industry for more than 17 years, working with the likes of Bollywood, with professional singers from the music industry, and also with people from advertising, jingles, doing all kinds of recordings of voiceovers and films. So this person has a lot of knowledge in this area, and he's going to be talking to you about this in just a minute. Could we have the video, please?
Hi, Simona. Thank you for inviting me. Okay, so sound plays a very lethal and important role in your podcast, webinars, corporate videos, etc. So, if your audience cannot hear or listen to you due to your bad audio or medium, your message won't be conveyed to them properly. The result, they will eventually lose the interest in your podcast or webinar. Try recording something on whatever device you have with you for 5 seconds without speaking anything on the mic. What you will hear is a loud ambient noise. And this I won't call a sound, it's a noise which is present around us. So, what I feel, to get a clean and clear sound, a studio environment is an appropriate place. If you don't have a budget to go in a studio, or not to spend too much, to eliminate ambient sounds, try recording in the night when the ambient sounds are least expected. They get subdued or even goes to sleep. What I suggest you to do is practice. And here's how you should practice. Choose some script, like an article from a newspaper or a chapter from some novel. It should be roughly around a minute or two. Now record that script on whatever device you have and play it back. And keep on recording again and again until you hear it close to be perfect. Besides this, I also suggest you to listen to different voiceover artists. Do this and it will definitely going to give you a very good result when you're going to be on an actual mic in a recording studio. Hmm. So try to select a studio where the engineer is familiar with your requirement. Make a plan with him, keep your stuff ready, like your script, your pen, your paper, etc. Keep it within your budget, but don't compromise on the quality also. And don't be afraid to bring your recordings if you have any. Bring some references also. And finally, don't get the session too crowded. I personally don't like the crowded sessions. So keep a checklist on this and you will be sorted. Okay, so I suggest number one, like whatever sample rate you recorded your session into should be conveyed exactly to your engineer so that he she will not change the session sample rate to some other. Number two, record it on a good mic. Number three, The A to D conversion should be of a good quality. Number 4, levels of your recorded files shouldn't be too hot or loud, otherwise, it will distort. At the same time, it shouldn't even be too soft, otherwise, it will bring too much noise. So, yes, those are my tips and tricks. Thank you.
And
Wow.
how
So
clear was that?
that was amazing, right? I mean, he was so
Yeah.
to the point, very precise. And yeah, that was again another example of good public speaking. Speak slowly, clearly, and just to the point. And he answered all the questions. I especially like his joke about the, recording night when all the ambient sounds go to sleep. That was an excellent
So,
idea because I struggle a lot with recording during the day because a lot of ambient noises, and because I don't always record my podcast in a professional studio. Some of it is done at home, and the night is the best time to do it. So that was a very valuable point that I personally definitely use myself.
so if
So
I have to start off with a podcast, what are the points that I need to consider?
okay, so is this one of the questions from
Yeah.
Sniper? Yes, so this is one of the questions from our audience. Hi, Sniper King. And yes, the comment you made earlier about the typical East Indian filler, guilty as charged. Half East Indian, definitely said me kula. So, yes, so in terms of starting a podcast, when you say, why would people listen to your podcast? Well, frankly, that can be, why would people attend my webinar? Why will people listen to me talking on a stage? Why will people watch me pitch a product to potential, VCs for funding for if I'm a startup? So there are so many different ways to approach the same question. Why would somebody listen to you? Well, are you offering something of value? Is it unique? Is it interesting? It could be something completely time pass, completely यार मतलब ऐसे ही हम जब just jokes मार रहे हैं, or I just want to talk about, oh my god, I really love the rainy season. I'm going to start a podcast just about how much I love the rainy season. Now, the good thing is there are 7 billion people on this planet, each with diverse interests, each with some wacky, curiosity. There is very likely to be somebody out there in your audience who wants to listen to you talk about the topic because they care about it. Now, how you develop that audience, how do you reach out to them, वो सब बात की बात है. पहले आप सोचो जब आप पॉडकास्ट कर रहे हो, क्यों कर रहे हो? What is the goal you want to achieve? Do you feel that what you have to say is of value? It needs to do one of three things. Okay, either you need to be entertaining, or you need to be educating, not educating, educating. Huh? Like don't talk like Gyani Baba, but you are actually sharing something that people want to learn. So either entertaining, educating, or engaging. Sometimes you just want to talk about things that are not very lofty or very deep. मतलब ऊंचा भी नहीं, एकदम गहरीला भी नहीं. Just like normal day-to-day stuff. But it engages with the audience because at the end of the day, we're all humans, right? We all have these banal, boring सा मतलब घिसा पिटा रोज का है, but it matters to us. Like commuting in Bombay. I'm sure you can do a podcast. I'm sure there is a podcast on commuting in Bombay and what a horror it can be. And basically, people will want to listen to that. They want to add their own stories. You'll have people calling in. You'll have people taking part in your, interactive aspect of your podcast. So if you are either entertaining, educating, or engaging with your audience, you have something there. If you can do all three, Subhanallah. Then too, you have a killer podcast. Send me the link. I will be your first subscriber.
So ये तो बात हो गई पॉडकास्ट की, एंड स्पेशली बीइंग एन आर्टिस्ट, इट इज़ वेरी इजी फॉर फॉर एन आर्टिस्ट टू एंगेज समवन थ्रू अ मीडियम ऑफ आर्ट. लाइक अगर मैं आपको एक विजुअल बता दूं तो आप एक दो सेकंड के लिए तो उसको देखोगे ही, राइट? सो
बिल्कुल.
इट्स या तो ये बात हो गई. मतलब अगर हम वीडियो बना रहे हैं तो वी हैव अ कंटेंट वेयर वी कैन लुक. बोर्डम अवॉइड कैसे करें अगर हमें पॉडकास्ट में करना है? बिकॉज ऑल यू आर डूइंग इज लिसनिंग.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you a story. We all get bored. We all have limited attention spans, and we all want something which will grab our attention. But सब लोग ऐसे नहीं कर सकते, right? Okay. Now I'm going to tell you a story. What I meant to tell you was that when I first started public speaking, I remember this one incident. It's very embarrassing that what I'm going to share, but it's okay. I mean, it's just UK, or I'm just talking to you, right? I mean, who else is listening? So
Absolutely.
it's just you
Bring
and
it
me
on.
here. So I feel completely comfortable confessing that there was an occasion where I had to walk into a room by people who had invited me. I did not force my way in there. They invited me, and I was supposed to talk about my charity project called the Bicycle Project India. We just wrapped it up after 12 years, but that was the early days, and I was invited to talk about it. Now, this was something I was very passionate about, so obviously it should have come very easily to me. And I'm talking to a room full of people who want to give money, to donate money, to make donations to that project. So obviously it should be even easier to talk to them. What do I go and do? I start crying in the middle of my God, in the middle of my presentation where I'm talking about this project that I care very much about and I've worked so hard for. I get emotional and I also get nervous because suddenly I realize, oh my God, this whole room, सब लोग मुझे देख रहे हैं, सब लोग मेरी बात सुन रहे हैं. They are hanging on every word, and I freaked out and I started. I didn't start crying. I didn't start crying like boo hoo hoo, but my eyes got full of tears. So obviously I can't see anything after that. I couldn't read my notes, and my voice choked up. And then I made some like choo choo noise and whatever. I said, and I gave it back to the organizer. And I would say almost, because I had some thoda decorum, I almost ran away from that room. It was in a big fancy 5-star hotel and everything. So it was such an embarrassing incident of my life. And I was like, kya hua? Even that organizer asked me that, why did you start crying? And I had no answer because I was so terrified. You know, when you're in a room and you suddenly realize everybody is paying attention to everything you are saying and doing, that burden अब बहुत भारी हो गया तो मैंने सोचा बस छोड़ ही दो run away from there. But that incident taught me that public speaking is not easy, but it's possible. What do I need to work on to get to the point where I can talk in front of anybody, no matter how small or big the room, no matter how many people are there, or even if it's just to one person like you, right now. I mean, to do it with confidence, to do it with absolute enjoyment. Like I'm having a blast right now. I don't know about you guys watching, and I don't know about you, Kayur, but I'm having an absolute great time doing this webinar. So to get from that point to this point took a lot of work, took a lot of practice, took a lot of learning. And I genuinely believe that while this webinar can only tell you about the basics, I can actually, with some time, teach you how to get from whatever point you are to this point where you can do the same. And now, this whole story was an example of storytelling. Now, how to avoid boredom? Your question, Kayur, is
Yeah.
basically pull people into a story. If I had to just sit and pitch that, you can avoid boredom by just be confident and just be doing this and just doing that. But you were engaged, you were listening to what I had to share because one, it was true, second, it was personal, and three, it was entertaining in a way, it was a little bit informative, it was a little bit engaging, or maybe all of those above. And now I can tell you that I've used that story to do something which I'm going to teach you to do, which is basically create interest. How do you avoid boredom? You create interest. Then you take it a step further and you pitch to your audience something that you can help solve, a problem that your audience has, and you can either provide a service or a product that will solve their problem. So in this case, the problem is how to effectively do public speaking without getting nervous or shy or without being boring. So I'm telling you that this is my story. I went from being that person who cried and ran away to being this person who can talk to a screen and have absolute fun doing it. And I can teach you how to do that. So now I've created interest. I've pitched my product, which is the workshop that I want to do or that I'm going to do, or a service that I can teach you how to do this. And I'm going to be sharing a Google form at the end of this webinar where you can sign up for this. It has all the information about what it is that I'm going to be teaching. And you can let me know if you want me to get in touch with you and tell you more. And then at the end of it, the call to action is that you have to fill out that form. And the validity is that I'm only going to be accepting applications for that workshop for a limited date. You have to create interest, pitch a solution to an existing problem, then offer something, either a product or a service, and then ask for a call to action. And finally, you have to put a limited time offer, because you and I both know कि अगर मैंने आपको बोल दिया कि हाँ, we should do a barbecue someday. So you'll obviously say, हाँ, we have already discussed this before. Have we
Yeah.
ever done it? It's been
No,
months. We didn't do it.
actually,
Winter हो गया, summer हो गया, अभी बारिश का season तो winter में तो barbecue हो नहीं सकता. So it's like, because we don't put a limited validity to it, or we don't put a time deadline, it'll just stay up in the air. So similarly, you've taken all the trouble to create this whole situation, put a limited validity. There is a reason that as human beings, we jump to do something. Like, बस हाँ ठीक है कल परसों, मतलब there is this beautiful मुहावरा I love, कल करे सो आज.
आज करे सो अब.
Exactly, because we are lazy human beings. We don't want to do anything if we can do it later. Procrastination is the biggest sin. So if you want to create a sort of interest and then pull people in, put a limited time offer on your limited validity on your time offer. So that's the long answer to how to avoid boredom, and also answering what can you do with your public speaking once you get good at it.
Perfect. So let's take one more question. We have Alex asking, you spoke about voice and how clear it should be. How do we practice that?
Okay, so Alex is asking, you spoke about voice and how clear it should be. How do we practice that or have a clear spoken voice? Very simple, Alex. Find a bakra. So when you find a bakra, you can either choose your mom or your neighbor or a friend or anyone who you can patao and basically force them to sit in front of you and listen to you. All you have to do is be able to speak to them, to make, you can choose a presentation, choose your favorite topic, choose cricket, choose, cooking, if you like to make desserts, if you like to make paper boats and sail them in the street, in the little puddles, whatever it is, choose something that you love talking about. Create a small script, not more than a minute long. And just like Sunny Singh said in the video, practice on people. Now, you'll be able to see whether they are understanding what you're saying, whether they want to listen any further, or if they're bored and they're trying to run away, or if they're engaged, if they're paying attention, if they want to know more. कि मतलब रुक क्यों गए, आगे बोलो ना. There you have it. Just find bakras, and you can do this now with technology. Call up your friends on Zoom, trouble them on Google Duo, give them a buzz on WhatsApp using the video call facility. Whatever it is you do, just make sure you have somebody who will communicate to you honestly, very important, honestly, whether they can understand what you're saying. And if they can't, that means you need to work on it. So it's just practice and feedback. And the third most important thing, listen, train your ear. This again is something that Sunny said in his video, which is listen to other voiceover artists or listen to documentaries. Listen to, I don't know, man, Morgan Freeman, the way he delivers, the way he projects his voice. Listen to certain newscasters, not Arnab, but powerful speakers, people who know how to express themselves eloquently, articulately, and effectively. And pick up points. You're smart enough, Alex. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to understand certain things absolutely, matlab, ekdam, instinctively. So I feel just do more of that, and you'll get there, man. You'll get there. Any more questions, Keywood?
No, as of now. So how do we check on our audience? Like,
Yes. So same thing I was telling Alex, you need feedback. Now in a webinar, I can only see you, Keywood. I can see that there's a lot of people in the comments who are participating and asking a lot of cool questions. Now, the way to make sure that in a live जो होता है live, when I say live I don't mean like Insta live and Facebook live, I'm talking about in a live situation pre corona जो होता था, तो सामने से दिखता था. If you see people sitting like that, like oh my god, when is the coffee break, you know you've lost them, you know that they're just waiting to get out of that room, that the AC is nice and comfortable, your voice is droning on, they ain't paying attention, they don't care what you have to say. मतलब तुम कुछ भी बोलो ठीक है ना भाई, 4 मिनट में कॉफी सर्व होने वाला है, हम लोग जाके कॉफी पियेंगे मस्त एकदम, and then we'll come back and sleep through the rest of your talk. You can see that, but there are other ways to make sure that when you're talking to somebody on screen, you know when they've checked out. So sometimes if you don't know, ask. The best way to do anything and to find out anything is to ask. So once in a while, if you're doing a conference call and you've been speaking about a certain topic, and you've been speaking for at least 5 minutes, when everyone should be getting a turn, when you finish, ask an open-ended question. So guys, what do you think? Or how would you respond to that? Or what do you think about what I just said? Do you agree? So check in with your audience. Sometimes doing polls is interesting. I didn't want to break the flow of this webinar, so we're doing our polls at the end of this webinar. So don't leave without giving us your feedback, your valuable feedback. लेकिन जो बीच में if you can check in with your audience, बस ऐसे ही पूछ लेना. मतलब see, we all check in with them. Like, if you and I are having a conversation, Keyur, I know that I tend to be the one monologuing, but I look at your expression, I look at your feedback. I'm like, hey, Keyur, so what do you think? And you're not somebody to keep quiet, right? But if you do, I'll be like, wait, ये बंदा कुछ बोल क्यों नहीं रहा है? मतलब, hello, did you go to sleep? Have I said something wrong? Did I upset you? Did you not understand what I said? There's always a checking in process. But just extend that same thing to your audience when you're doing it, either on a camera, on a screen, or if you're doing it just through audio. There's always a feedback loop. That's why it's called a conversation. Like it would be called a speech.
Yeah, so we have a question coming up from Dinah Linda, and she's asking how much of your speech you memorize, every line, or just some points.
Okay, hi Diana, and that's a brilliant question because yes, sometimes when people have to speak about something, they go in with a mental agenda, and they realize finally then that, oh no, मैंने इतना बोल दिया, but I forgot that main point. So what helps, at least for me, is earlier I would do it on paper. I would keep my bullet points, right? And sometimes just bullet points are not enough. So I'll put something in brackets. So if I have to talk about, say, like this webinar, what I have actually done, and now this is again me sharing a big secret. I scripted everything. With this slide, I want to talk about this. With this slide, I want to talk about this. Now, that does not mean that I am reading from a script. I don't think anyone at any point, Keo, did you feel at any point that I was reading from a script?
No.
Are you being honest?
I am.
Yes. So basically, that's the trick, that when you go in, and this comes again with practice. Like I mentioned, there are times when I've been able to go and speak extempore about a topic I care very deeply about, either to a camera, to a video, or doing a video, or talking to an audience, only because of preparation and practice. So what happens is mentally keep certain points in mind. If you want, put a little post-it in your palm, or nobody's going to penalize you or punish you if you refer to a list when you are speaking, especially publicly. A lot of times what I used to do when I had a big audience and I didn't want to carry notes and all that, because eye contact matters and also presence of mind. I want to talk from my heart, not from a paper. I would use small index cards, and like business cards, like people used to use before, and I would put those points in very simple words. And then I would practice and practice and practice. So in my mind, I automatically know I've covered this point, I've covered this point, I've covered this point. And then even if something's not on the card and I realize, oh yes, I should add this, add it. So it's a combination of preparation and spontaneity. And as you do this more and more, your own confidence will increase and you'll be able to do it in a way where it looks like you have never prepared, that you just woke up like this and you decided to take the mic and speak and you remembered everything. So I hope that answers your question, Diana.
So moving forward,
Mhm.
the forms are already out, I believe. if I approach you, what is that something that I'm going to learn out of it?
When you learn, depending on what topic it is that you're approaching me for, because I teach different things, and this webinar is specifically about public speaking and doing it in front of a screen, because it can be very unnerving, to just talk to this like tiny camera dot. And I feel that a lot of people forget that there is a person on the other side, right? That somebody who's watching is a human being like you and me. So I feel that that was the focus of this webinar, but I do teach a lot of different things. But right now, I think during COVID, the people I feel really, really bad for, and my heart goes out to them, are teachers, okay, the teaching community. Now, as students, and I know many of you listening right now are students, and are people who are on the opposite end of it. Like, you guys are being taught stuff online. Now, thanks to Corona, everything is online. My heart goes out to teachers who are not prepared for this situation, for people who struggle, because what they do is they take the same methods that they used to use in the classroom and they're trying to apply it to the computer. Now, it doesn't work like that. So for teachers out there, and as students, maybe one day you are going to be teachers as well, right? You're learning a certain profession right now. You're going to be an expert someday. You're going to be a professional someday. You are going to be in a position to pass on this knowledge. So please pay attention. For all you teachers out there, current and future, learning online is a very different animal. मतलब ये तो कुछ अलग ही बात है. So I feel that if you combine the techniques that you use for regular classroom learning with digital, that's the best of both worlds. Let me explain. So what you have to do is understand that there are two kinds of categories of learning. There are many styles, but with regard to this, there are two categories of learning. One is synchronous, which means sync, the word, synchronicity. So while you're teaching, the person is learning. Now, there's a problem with this. इसका मतलब क्या है कि जब आप सिखा रहे हो, when you are teaching, that time the student has to be available. What if the student lives in a home where there is only one computer, where his dad is working from home, where his mom may be also working from home, and he also has to do his studies. So they divide the time. But if he's going to hog all the time because you're teaching a class that he needs to be watching live, he's at a disadvantage. What if your student is in a different geographical zone? What if you're creating content, teaching content that is being consumed by somebody who lives in a different continent altogether? You don't want them to lose out. Or somebody who's working, so during the working day, they can't study, they come home in the night and they're sitting there and trying to brush up on their knowledge in the night. Now, it means that all these people you don't have access to. So the best way to do this is using asynchronous learning, which means creating videos that can be pre-recorded and watched later. You're creating content which can be consumed by your students whenever they want to. And then the synchronous part of the learning you do in class, where you say, okay, guys, who read that chapter? Who read that? Who watched that video? Who read that PDF? Let's do a live Q&A right now. Let's share our doubts. Let's ask questions. Let's clarify everything right now. And then the whole class learns together. So a combination of these two is very important right now. And I feel a lot of teachers are struggling because they just don't get it. And it's not their fault. They've not been equipped. The system hasn't equipped them. Kal corona ho jayega. You will have to use cell phone and laptop and mobile internet to teach. So for students who are hoping to be teachers someday, and for people who are teaching right now, I have a poll that's going to ask you later if you'd be interested in having me create a course for you where you can teach online, whether it's through webinars, whether it's through using pre-recorded videos, creating questionnaires, engaging ways of teaching. Then please fill out that form and I'll be happy to get in touch with you and guide you on that.
So, as a artist, I travel a lot. Uh, what if I want to get into making a podcast, or suppose if I have to start off with I plan to be a YouTuber tomorrow. What are the things that I need to consider?
Okay, so online content creation is an art. People think कि मतलब सामने से mobile ले लो and talk into it and la la la, but so easy. And yet people who have thousands of followers are still making the most rookie mistakes. They don't realize this because nobody tells them and nobody's teaching you how to do this out there. Yes, there are lots of free courses and all that, but it's just a lot of clutter and a lot of information. There are some very, very basic things you need to keep in mind if you're going to be creating content online. And it's very simple. I'm going to run through this list very quickly because I don't know how much time we have. But one, prepare. It all looks spontaneous, but like I mentioned before, if you want to combine being prepared with being spontaneous, that's your golden sweet spot. So prepare, create a script, put bullet points, practice, practice, practice. Don't read from the script, obviously. Let it become something that becomes a part of you so you can just speak spontaneously about it, especially if it's a topic you care about. Now, second, think of the message you want to convey. What is it that you want the person to remember after they finish watching your video? Whether it's about your travel to Italy, whether it's about how to sew a corona mask, or whether it's about how to cook palak paneer, what do you want them to remember at the end of it? Make sure that you have that message clear in your mind before you convey that to your audience. So for that, you need to prepare. Then be conversation. Now, can you imagine if can you imagine if I had done this
Hmm.
entire webinar sitting like this and talking like some demented professor? I mean,
So
you would have
you
been
want me to leave right now?
exactly. It would have been horribly boring. You would have hated it. I would definitely have like been brain dead. And I don't think our audience would have been an audience. They would have just all disappeared. So be conversational. If people want to learn something serious, they will go to a serious source. If they want to learn something which is entertaining and educative and engaging, they want to come to places like YouTube and like to podcasts and Instagram and Facebook. So be conversational. And the whole idea is that it's all about your personality, right? It's your podcast, it's your YouTube channel, it's your Facebook page. Your personality is what makes it or breaks it. So just be who you are. Don't forget that. Don't try to become something you're not or get too like caught up in everything. Just maze kar yaar, enjoy kar. And I
So
feel
yeah.
if you enjoy yourself, audience will also enjoy themselves. It's infectious. What was your question?
So सिमोना, ये तो बात हो गई अबाउट बीइंग योरसेल्फ एंड क्रिएटिंग कंटेंट. अभी हमारे सनी पाजी ने कहा था थोड़े टाइम पहले अबाउट समथिंग अबाउट द रिकॉर्डिंग थिंग.
Hmm.
सो देयर इज ऑलवेज अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन वॉइस एंड साउंड. तो
Yeah.
रिकॉर्डिंग पे के लिए हमें आपसे कुछ टिप्पणी अगर मिल जाए तो.
So recording pay, yes, I can give you some information, but I'll just give you a couple more things that when you're being conversational now, don't forget that there's an audience because a lot of podcasters, a lot of YouTubers, Facebook Live, Insta Live, influencers who talk about all of these cool things online, they forget that just because they care about something doesn't always mean that the audience is getting stuck into that. So understand there's a lot of competition out there. Like even right now, all of you who have chosen to come to this webinar, you have chosen this over other distractions. You've chosen this over your other responsibilities, your duties, your commitments. Hey, na, matlab, you could have been doing something else, right? I mean, something more fun or something which is more important to you. But you came here for a reason. So I need to respect that and I need to make sure that what I'm offering you is of value to you and not to just start, having fun, chatting, talking to KO as though nobody else is here. And that is called respect for the audience. So be yourself, but don't forget that your audience has given you the privilege of their time and attention, and that you should keep that in mind when you are going live or when you're producing content for them. Okay, now coming to your recording tips question. Like I did last time, I'm going to take a shortcut and I'm going to, instead of giving you Mera Gyan, which I've been giving for a long time now, almost 59 minutes, that's almost an hour, I'm going to put you on to Leslie Hooper, and she's this amazing woman. And I'm not the only one who thinks she is. She has over 76,000 followers only on Instagram. She's an amazing coach. She teaches nutrition, she teaches fitness, she teaches you diet tips which are about not punishing yourself and not like hating food, but the opposite. And she has a podcast called the Fat Murder Podcast. She's got an amazing, of course, Instagram account and her website, Hooperfit, lesliehooper.com. So I'm going to share all her information. But for now, you need to listen to her telling you how you need to prepare and what you need to keep in mind to be an awesome video and audio creator.
Hi there, my name is Leslie Hooper, and I'm an online fitness professional out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Because my business is online, I have the opportunity to create a lot of video and audio content. I'm just going to share with you a few of my personal tips here today to help you become a better public speaker. Number one, I would say, is the most obvious when creating video content: look into the camera. Your listeners, your viewers want to feel like you're speaking to them. So that seems very basic and simple, but you would be shocked at how many people look at themselves instead of looking into the camera. Second thing is keeping your hands down by your side. People don't want to see you fidgeting around or rocking your chair back and forth, so be still. It's a distraction. Third thing, make sure you're in a quiet space. So if you know it's a trash day, or your lawn is going to be mowed, or you have a dog that barks, make sure that all of those things are not going to be happening at the time that you record your podcast episode or make a video. So the dog might be a little difficult, but perhaps you can take them out for a run so they pass out and sleep or nap when you know it's time for you to create some content. The other thing I would keep in mind is speaking clearly. So slow it down and use the language of your audience. So if you're someone who's catering to, I don't know, a more youthful or hip crowd, I guess, somebody who uses profanity, for example, then don't be afraid to do that. You want to kind of meet your client or your ideal client where they are. But if you're working in a more professional setting, then it might be socially unacceptable to use that kind of language, right? So just kind of do your best to match the tone of the person or community that you're trying to connect with. Beyond that, I think it's just a matter of speaking slowly, clearly, and also at a third grade level. So you don't want to use words that are too big or talk about things that people are not going to understand. And I would say the last thing when it comes to my content in particular, I like to have some bullet points specific to my audience members that they can connect with. So I will use examples. For example, one thing I might say is, oh, well, if you're someone who feels out of control on the weekends with your food, we can do X, Y, and Z to help you solve that problem. So I hope these tips provide you with some valuable insights. Thanks so much.
There you go. I think that was
Wow.
super clear. It was very to the point, right?
Absolutely, to the point. But ये तो बात हो गई हमारे normal podcast की. What about the time when we are actually doing some interview or something like a panel discussion? वो time पे क्या करना चाहिए?
Actually, that is the final point that I want to make, because I feel like so much of what we covered today is about us talking, that I'm not sure, despite me making this point multiple times in subtle ways, I'm not sure if, I emphasized enough. Listening is very important. So it's part of communication, right? I mean, if you want to converse with somebody, at some point you also have to listen. That's how the conversation can go ahead. And I think that this is something that a lot of people don't realize is very important, even when it comes to public speaking, even when it comes to engaging online or in a digital format. So whether you're doing an interview on a podcast, or whether you're speaking to somebody on the phone, or whether you're doing a panel discussion where there are other speakers, you need to listen. Because when you listen, you will know when to change the topic. If you are moderating the conversation, or if you are in charge of kind of taking the interview ahead, if you're the interviewer, you will know by listening that, okay, here's where I can ask XYZ question and get them to go to this point, like you have been doing. And somebody commented as well that Taylor is doing a fantastic job in hinting and directing the live session. Because sometimes it's just nice to have a traffic policeman. I'm not calling you matlab a hawaldar, but doing a fantastic job, because sometimes when you're speaking to the camera and you have all these points in your head, it can get very easy to get a little bit carried away because you're very passionate. And I won't say you, me. I can get carried away because I'm very passionate about what it is I'm talking about, and I'm visualizing the audience I'm speaking to. And in all of that, I may kind of forget my place, or carry one point kuch zyada, or say too little on another point. So having somebody to listen and direct is very helpful. So somebody is interviewing me, and even though they have a list of questions, so preparation is very important. You have to prepare beforehand. If somebody is interviewing me, I presume that they know what my work is about, that they know what it is they want to ask me about, and they know what it is I want to share and convey on their particular platform to which they've invited me. This is the most basic thing, right? You would think, but it doesn't happen. And because podcasts and lives and so many social media things and all are happening very spontaneously, and anybody can do it supposedly, they don't prepare enough. When you don't prepare enough, you don't know what to listen for. If you're asking me a question and I answer something that was in your second question, you're not going to be dumb और वापस वही question थोड़ी दोहराएंगे because I've just answered it. But if you've been listening, you'll know that okay, now you have to ask me the third question and not the first one. So when you're paying attention, when you are really, really listening, when you have done your homework, all of this becomes very easy and very seamless. And if you are able to combine all of these skills that we've spoken about today, whether it's about using the three pillars, humility, humor, confidence, whether it's about storytelling, pitching a solution to a problem, then creating a call to action, and then finally giving them an offer with a limited validity, whether it's about respecting your audience, being conversational, being confident but not arrogant, all of these combined with listening and being prepared and practicing, you'll be sorted. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. That was amazing. And before I take this session forward, Sniper King, thank you so very much for noticing that. And एक चीज तो मैं भूल ही गया, दाल में मिर्ची कितनी डालनी थी? Okay, this is actually a question from Pooja Nisar. What do we do with off-topic presentation? या अगर हमारे पास एक कुछ random question आ गए, what do we do at times like that?
Do what comes naturally. Like दाल में कितनी मिर्ची डालनी चाहिए वो आपके palate पे depend करता है. So suppose somebody asks you something. Now I guess what she means is that when you are asked spontaneously about a certain topic that you've not had time to prepare for, take a second, breathe. If you want to stall and buy more time, take a sip of water or pretend to blow your nose or something, and then in that time, think about all the things you know about that topic. And if you realize you know absolutely nothing, be honest and say that. Don't try to bluff your way. You can be funny, you can make a joke about it, or you can simply admit that you don't have enough information about this, but that if somebody asks you later, you will be able to get back to them after having done some research or having had some time to think about the topic. If what Pooja is actually asking is that you suddenly have been called on to spontaneously present something, think out of the box.
You are a very good question. You're a very good question.
It's an excellent question, Pooja. And in fact, there are going to be many situations in your life where you will have to speak spontaneously on things, and that will be tested. That you will be tested on how how charismatic you are and how confident you are. I say, have fun with it. Have fun with it. Be creative. Try to think out of the box. And there is no right answer, so there can't be any wrong answer. If somebody is putting it on you suddenly, कि आपको suddenly present करना है, करो present. Say what comes to mind. Say what you feel like, because quite frankly, they put you on the spot. You owe them no responsibility to be a genius or an expert. In fact, you don't owe anybody anything except to have fun and just go for it, man. Go for it.
And there is one more question lined up. We have Dave asking, what do we do when we have a lot of topics to cover?
When you have a lot of topics to cover. Okay, so Dave, basically, I think the don't know where to start part is something that I also struggle with. So what I do is, if I have time to prepare, and sometimes, actually most of the time I do, I would create a little mind map. So I sit with a sheet of paper and some nice coloring pens. The more colorful, the better. Crayons bhi chalega, color pencils, kuch bhi chalega. And what you do is you write down all the various topics that you want to cover, and you look at how they flow. Do you feel like there is a sequence that can, present it better? Or maybe you feel that you can start with A, then move to B, then like there is a logic to it. Or otherwise just eeny, meeny, miny, mo, just put, some random colors and say, okay, I'm going to start in the Vibgyor sequence, and violet will go first, indigo next, blue next, yellow next, orange. I mean, so just have fun with it and be creative. But if you feel like it depends on the audience and the context as well. If you want to look at that, that can also be a good guide with what to start with. Simple answer, I say go with your gut. If you feel that when you're talking about a certain subject, to start with the most hard-hitting thing and then come to the most pleasant one makes more sense, go for it. Many times I feel like you kind of ease into the topic with something that is most top of mind in your audience's mind, address that, and then once they feel like that has been answered, they'll be listening a little more because they feel, yes, you've already offered them value. What you're saying makes sense. They're willing to give you more time. They're willing to give you the privilege of their attention even more. So choose based on that. And you seem like a smart guy. The very fact that you asked this topic means that you have a lot going on. You know a lot of stuff, and you probably already have the answer to that question. But maybe me saying it out there just kind of validated it. So listen to your gut, listen to your heart, and then do what comes naturally.
So we just have time for two more questions. Our next question is from Abhishek Verma. He's asking, yep.
Reading books helps you in getting better at phrasing sentences while speaking, in brackets subconsciously, or in general, what do you think about reading books, articles? So Abhishek, this is an interesting question because I love reading. I think, and I'm not exaggerating, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but books saved my life. I was a huge reader right from a very young age. I sometimes say that I don't read books. I just you know, devour them, like inhale them, because I feel like I want all that information in my brain. As I've gotten older, I've calmed down a little bit. Thoda sa matlab chill aa gaya hai. But reading is very good because I feel what it does is it expands your mind and it gives you a lot of perspective, and not just books, reading interesting blogs, listening to podcasts, any information that's been collated by other people can only add to your amazing reservoir of knowledge. And the more information, more knowledge you have, the I think the more your mind expands and you're willing to look at things and approach them from multiple perspectives. And if that's not a superpower, I don't know what is. So I feel that in general will inform your ability to think, your ability to analyze, to be more spontaneous, to know how to approach different situations. And in terms of phrasing, how we read, we don't speak. How we write, we don't speak like that, right? So I think what it does is it just trains your brain, gives you better vocabulary, and also it helps you kind of almost peep into other people's minds, which is fascinating. So yes, reading helps, but don't look at copying exactly what you read and trying to copy paste that into life. Read to become better, read to learn more, read to understand more, and then do what is an amalgamation of all the knowledge you had and all the knowledge you've gained. I don't know if this makes sense, but basically reading good, books good. Keep doing it.
And we have one last question from Lakshay Aneja.
Okay, hi Lakshay. So how to manage while we're answering anything in an interview and get stuck in between?
Uh, mm,
This is me getting stuck. I don't understand your question. So you mean like it's an interview and somebody asks you something and you don't know what to answer? Say that. Say that you don't know what to answer. Either you don't want to answer something, in which case you should say that, or you don't have an answer. You don't know what the answer is. If somebody asks you something complicated or something which you are not prepared and you don't have enough information, the safest and smartest thing is to say, I don't have enough information. I'm sorry, I don't know enough about that to make a comment. Or, I'm sorry, I don't wish to answer that question. Boom, done.
Boom, done. That was
Done.
amazing. And I believe I have also covered all the questions here. Uh,
I think there is one last question from Gaurang. Gaurang
sure.
asks, any tips you can give to make our voice good to listen, like exercise or diet, for enhancing our throat function? Yes, I think you should basically every morning wake up and drink 1 liter Gaumutra, and then you have to sing the. Okay. Okay, so practice. Sunny Singh gave a brilliant suggestion, which is just record on your device. All of us have amazing devices now. The technology has improved so wonderfully, whether it's your cameras or your recorders or those little apps you can edit stuff. I say there's nothing better than just um, practicing clarity in terms of voice quality. Sure, there are lots of ways to improve the timbre. Now, some people are just born with voices that were not built for other people to enjoy listening to. Now, even these people have been able to work on their voice quality to change the timbre, you know, how you speak from your chest or from your throat. People who practice their diction to sound more pleasant. People who take the time to kind of realize that when their voice resonates, it has a certain bass to it. All of this takes work, and yes, it's possible there are very few people who have such a bad voice that they should just not even bother. Very few. And I'm pretty sure you're not one of them. So it's the very fact that you're asking this question means that go online, look up all these amazing tutorials. You have beautiful voiceover artists who are teaching you tips and tricks on how to improve your voice function. There are a lot of amazing actors who talk about projecting the voice and how do they practice, musicians, singers. I'm also going to be doing a workshop on how to be a better voiceover artist, because there's a lot of stuff that people don't realize goes into being a voice actor, as they call it, because you're only heard, so your voice is everything. And through that, you have to convey drama, you have to convey conviction, you have to convey lightness or sadness or anger. So, how to do that is not a simple thing that I can answer, just here on a webinar in under 30 seconds. I think I've already taken more than a few minutes to answer something that I'm saying I can't answer. But I am going to be doing a course later. Again, in the poll, there is some information asking if you'd be interested in a voiceover class in learning how to be a better voice actor, how to speak more, pleasantly, where people listen to your voice and they're like, I want to hear what he has to say. So yeah, I'd be happy to teach you some more in detail. But yes, go online, look up these exercises. There are plenty of them that you can do on a very daily basis in a very simple way. I hope that answers your question.
And I guess with that, we have come to the end of this webinar, but I'm not going to let you go just yet. I need some quick takeaways in the comment. What did you get from this webinar? What did you learn? I need some quick takeaways, quick, in the comment section. ASAP.
Are you asking people to put in what they have learned?
Yep.
I'm waiting because it takes a couple of seconds for them to
Yeah.
be able to do this. Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at the polls.
Kaboom. Surprise. And we have forms.
Oh,
is that the link to the form? I believe that's the link to the form.
That's the link to the forms. And so guys, if you have a minute, it would be wonderful to have your feedback and also for me to know what it is that you're interested in learning much more about or in detail. And you know how to get in touch with me. If suddenly raat ko jage mohan pyare and decide, oh no, I could have asked this, but I forgot to ask it during the webinar, feel free to get in touch with me, DM me on Instagram or on Twitter or on Facebook, or best email me. And I'll be happy to answer all your questions. And don't worry, Kevin, I'm not running away anywhere. But I really want to thank everyone who came to today's webinar and listened to this 1 hour, 20-minute long discussion. I hope you had a lot that you could take away from it. And I would be very, very keen to know if you want to learn more, if you want me to do more webinars or specific topic, specific workshops. And yeah, I mean, just approach me anytime and I would love to help you out. I would love to clarify all your doubts. This has been a wonderful experience. I want to thank you, Keyur. You have been such a joy to talk to, and thank you so
मंडळ आभारी, फ्रेमबॉक्स आभारी, व्यूअर्स आभारी, तुम्ही लय भारी.
much. ऑस्कर कभी मिलने वाला है लाइफ में नहीं, तो एटलीस्ट लेट मी डू माय स्पीचेस नाउ. सो Frameboxx, I want to thank you for this platform, and especially you, Vishal. You've done a lovely job of initiating this and organizing everything so seamlessly. It has been very, very chill because I don't have to do anything except show up and talk and have fun with my buddy Keyur here. And yeah, just thank you everyone. This has been a real joy.
Thank you very much.
So guys, I feel you got to learn something new today. Apart from all these things, what we have done in past, all those technical webinars, talking about 3D Max, talking about Photoshop. Today you got to learn how you can express whenever you are going to an interview or maybe you're speaking to someone. We have been lined up a lot of webinars in future for now. Next week, we are lined up with procedural texturing using Substance. So we have what mathematical calculations you can use, and by using maths, how you can create 3D models. So these are the few webinars which we have lined up. For all those guys who have not subscribed, I would request you all to please subscribe. Also, press the bell button so that you'll get all the notifications for all of our upcoming webinars. For now, I'm Vishal signing off. Bye bye and be safe.